Well, good afternoon and welcome to United MUFON. I'm glad you could join me today, and in case you have never attended a United MUFON meeting before, I'm here to tell you just a little bit about who we are and what we do here at MUFON in every single state, monthly, all over America and abroad as well. MUFON has some amazing advances this year that we've come upon with MUFON University, and we now have a new platform for the CMS and for new form upgrades, as well as photo, video, and flight radar analysis changes, and we've added astronomical bodies, satellites, dive team information, and FI training. We think you'll love all the new changes and find them positive and helpful. We want to make learning fun and exciting and easy. So, along with some new and much needed criteria advancements, our research and investigation technology, as well as the MUFON lab, has been upgraded. This is all such good news to all of us here within MUFON. But the most exciting news of the year is that MUFON is being recognized by the United States government as a leader in all UFO investigations. So now is an amazing time to join MUFON if you've ever been thinking about it. MUFON has been nominated by the civilian component on the currently developing UAP panel. This nomination is totally bipartisan and has been introduced in both the House and the Senate. So we are all elated here at MUFON about that news and very proud of all that our volunteers have accomplished with us to reach new heights as we continue to be the gold standard in ufology and reporting. So much of all that has been accomplished this year will help our state directors to train and equip their certified field investigators for future generations, doing any form of MUFON cases and on-site investigations. So once you're a part of MUFON, go to the MUFON University and find out all about the changes that are upcoming. But today I have an exciting day planned for us. I have Kyle Finley joining, sharing a few cases with us and other things, so stay tuned for that, which is coming just shortly, excuse me. This is going to be a fun-filled afternoon talking with Kyle. He's an exceptional state director and a hardworking, innovative man. I want to hear all about his interesting life as a state director there with Nebraska MUFON and his team. They're a great team. We're very proud of what they bring to the table and what they do for MUFON. But first, I want to mention that MUFON's Observer Network is live, and it's a huge success. So if you haven't yet joined our Observers Network, log on to it at MUFONOBM.net. That's MUFONOBM.net, and get started today. It's free to all active MUFON members. But anyway, I have some current stats for all of you who are wondering, so what's going on in your state? So here they are. I know it's kind of tough to see all of that. Our states are listed on the left globally, what is going on, and US is in the center. The shapes are there. I'll just let you look at those. And the distance from the witness, but down on the bottom there, what is really impressive is that there were 18 landings that were reported or takeoffs and 36 entities observed. And I might just say that that's kind of a neat thing because in the past, those numbers had gone down and now they're all back up again. So it's interesting to see how this all works. And they're on the rise again. So keep looking up and report anything that you see to MUFON.com. So a few MUFON sighting stats were left out last month. Excuse me, I apologize for that. Since we had so much going on, we didn't share that, but normally I like to share that every single month. So at this point, I would like to start our presentation, and hang on to your hats because I'm going to go through this rather quickly. So what's MUFON all about? What are we? We're the Mutual UFO Network, and who we are is the largest and oldest UFO investigative organization in the world. And we've got a huge member base, which we add to daily, and we're represented in all 50 states and 40 countries with thousands of certified, trained field investigators. And we've got over 50 PhD consultants in most disciplines. So we actually do conduct a scientific investigation of the UFO phenomenon, while all the others are just reporting agencies. So we were established in 1969, and for the past 53 years, MUFON has compiled a database of over 195,000 UFO reports. Our CMS, which is known to us here within MUFON as the Case Management System, was developed in 2006. And as MUFON has evolved, we now monitor abductions and entity cases. And we update things constantly on our site at MUFON.com. So you might ask, what is the scientific method? Well, this is how we actually investigate. This is the process. We use computer sciences, biology, astronomy, physics, chemistry, geology, engineering, and stats. We're big on stats. So if anything does happen with you, please report that to MUFON. And our mission statement is that we are the scientific study of UFO for the benefit of humanity, which I mentioned, and that is that we investigate UFO sightings, abductions, and entity cases, and we also promote research of UFOs with an eye always towards science. And we educate the public on the UFO phenomenon, which is like what we're doing here today. So I'm glad you're here. We do have a board of directors. Our executive director is David McDonald, and myself, director of memberships and a consultant to the MUFON University, Barbara Schusler-Sobani, who is our journal editor, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, who is the Mississippi State Director, Rob Swiatek is our physicist, Richard Beckwith is a Wyoming State Director and a MUFON attorney, and Sandy Clevin, who is a psychologist. So we're glad that you're with us. We're all proud to be a part of this. So of one of the most important things about our reports are about 15% are actually real. The others are misidentifications, optical illusions, stars, planets, hoaxes, and hallucinations. But what about those remaining 15%? That's actually what brought me here to MUFON. And that's the reason for MUFON's existence, which was started way back in '69. And there was no place to go, no one to talk to, nobody to reach out to. No help could be had if you'd had an experience and it was very traumatic. Now, MUFON is here to help you. You're never alone in your fears or what's happened to you. We do want to hear your story. No experience is too bizarre. So always log on to MUFON.com and report your experience. Someone will reach out to you quickly. And we do have an experiencers resource team, which again is known within MUFON as the ERT. And they're dedicated to helping experiencers of alien contact who have had something that was very compelling and hard for them to deal with. You can reach out to them at MUFON.com/experiencer questionnaire, because they'll ask you to confidentially fill out a questionnaire and they'll help walk you through many of the issues you might be having. And currently, Dr. George Medich is the leader of that group. So a little bit of MUFON business. We've got a symposium coming up in August, the 24th through the 27th in Cincinnati. And it's going to be about who are they, why are they here, what do they want? Well, we know they've been with us for all of recorded history, yet we do not know them as well as we wish that we could. They have interfered in ancient battles and surveil our modern warships. Their technology can shut down our nukes and outrun our fastest jets. They have reportedly killed and they have healed. They abduct us only to release us. Are they actually ETs, we're wondering, time travelers, interdimensional, or something else? Most importantly, what do we think they want? So we're going to be covering a lot of really important things. I'll be speaking there about my alien healing, and I hope you can join me for that. And our speakers are here. I hope that you can read all those different names on there, but this is our panel this year. Very exciting, some wonderful things that will be coming forth. So please try to make it to Cincinnati in August this year. And then our MUFON Journal has a call for submissions from our state directors or from our ASDs or for one of our members. So if you've got something that you would like to share in the MUFON Journal, please reach out to Barbara at journaleditor@mufon.com. Thank you. So, the official MUFON podcast. This is something that Richard Beckwith does. Don't forget to watch it. He has a wonderful updated format and many interesting topics and subject matter, interviews, and latest UFO information. So he does this each month, so go to MUFON.com and join on to the podcast. You're never at a loss for all things UFO and off-world related when you're with MUFON. And then the Accidental Truth, which was done by Ron James, which has won many awards already, will be previewed at the symposium this year, so we'll be showing that. Accidental Truth. This is an amazing film. It's really a masterpiece. It is. It's very informative, and I hope that you'll be there. If you aren't able to make it, maybe you can just log on to MUFON TV and watch it streamlined. So, as the Director of Memberships, I would like to invite you to join MUFON if you haven't already and get the electronic or hard copy journal. I like my hard copy. I save them and go back to them all the time with so much information loaded in there. Articles of leading ufologists, one-on-one interviews, UFO sighting reports, pictures, many different things, abduction cases, mutilations, crop circles, just to name a few. And it's very affordable, $59.88 for the whole year. I hope you'll join. And like I mentioned previously, for $119.88 for the whole year, or almost $10 a month, that would include your live stream MUFON symposium. And you cannot go wrong having that, because it'll save you in the long run, and it's watching it right out of the comfort of your own home on your couch. So I hope you'll join us. And if you're interested in becoming a field investigator, go to MUFON.com and click join. You must be a MUFON member to become a field investigator. And once you are joined as a MUFON member, then there is a test that you take, a background check, and all of this that we go through with you to bring you up to a certified field investigator. So MUFON.com is the answer. You want to join us? We'd love to have you, and we're always in need. And the online store. The I Know shirts are out, and those are some of the best shirts on the market right now. And many other beautiful shirts and hats and all kinds of things. You know, the MUFON mugs, and we've even got coffee mugs. There's all kinds of things emblazoned with the MUFON logo. So come on to the online store at MUFON.com and join us. And so every month on the fourth, usually, let me just say, on the fourth weekend, the fourth Saturday of the month, we have this live presentation for United MUFON. So please feel free to join us. We're on Facebook and also YouTube. Just join us at www.mufonmeetings.com. I'd love to have you. And next month, it says June, but it's actually July 22nd. That was my mistake. We'll be live streaming the presentation from Paris, right here, with our newest state director, Sherry Ramanathan, and she is the director now, state director for Tennessee MUFON. And I'm right here in Paris, so we're just a couple hours away, and I look forward to working alongside her. And again, that'll be 2 p.m. Central Time, right here on the 22nd of July. So we'll see you then. And now I would like to introduce Kyle. I've got a little something I'd like to read about him. As I've mentioned, Kyle is the state director for MUFON Nebraska and is the current CEO for Quantum Electrodynamics, also known as QED, a company that is developing a space warp drive. He's the president and founder of the UNO MUFON Study Group and one of the founders for the UNO Paranormal Society. His education is a BGS in Native American Studies and Computer Engineering and Information Assurance, as well as a master's degree in IT Innovation from the University of Nebraska. While pursuing his master's degree at UNO, he was awarded a fellowship with the National Counterterrorism Innovation, Technology, and Education Center, which is also known as NCITE. And he interned at the Department of Homeland Security for 2 years. Wow, that's wonderful. He has published one paper in the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics on space warp. Lastly, he is a director of the Audubon Society of Omaha. Kyle has also been featured in Mysteries Decoded, which is an episode on CW, the Bermuda Triangle episode, Season 1, Episode 5. So make sure you take a listen to that, because that just sounds amazing. So welcome, Kyle. I'm so glad to have you here today with us at United MUFON.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and I like starting from the beginning. So one thing I would like to ask you is, what brought you to MUFON, and what got you initially started in ufology?
Yeah, I guess in high school, I was kind of interested in Atlantis and some of the weird stories that went along with that. So I always had kind of a interest in like weird kind of things that happen in the world, you know, ancient ruins and all that kind of stuff. And when I got to the University of Nebraska, Omaha, where, you know, I've been about 10 years now, one of my dorm mates went to a student involvement fair, and he saw there was a UFO group, and he just came back and told me about it. He's like, "Hey, you want to go check out this UFO group? They meet like on Saturdays," and that's what got me interested in ufology, I guess. I just went there and listened to the stories, and it seemed like everybody there was really scientific, minded, and we had a lot of doctors and PhD people, coming in and out, and just the stories just intrigued me so much. So I've just kind of been stuck with it ever since then. That would have been 2009 when I started.
Oh, wow, 2009. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were a certified field investigator in 2009?
I think 2010.
Okay.
Another thing I really liked about the group was that they pushed me to become a certified field investigator. Even though I just started the group and I'm real young and everything, I was like 18 years old. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But everybody there is just so passionate and everything about the subject. They like, we got to get you a field investigator and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't have like any money to do it. They're like, oh, we'll take care of that. We'll get you a field handbook and stuff. And that was a little bit of an issue early on, because one of the older members, they bought the new field investigator manual, and then I needed one to become a field investigator. So they just gave it to me, but I think MUFON wanted me to buy it, so they had like a record of the purchase and all that kind of stuff. So we had to go back and forth for a few years to get me, instead of being inactive, to be an active field investigator. But hey, they stuck with it and got me through, so I've been here ever since.
Well, it is true, and you've been so busy with school because all these accolades here. It is hard financially at first, but it's not terribly expensive actually in the big picture. It's a small investment for huge rewards and all the information that you glean while you're there. And I think for me, I also started in like 2008, and 2010 is when I became a certified field investigator. But you make so many personal friends, people that you really identify with, and you can talk about just about anything too. And I think that is a real plus within MUFON. It truly is a family, and you all get to seeing eye to eye and understand what's going on. And that understanding means everything to me. Not being on the outside looking in, but as I'm sure you can attest, you get all these stats and all these different cases, which train you, along the way. So it is refreshing.
Yeah. Back in the day, we used to do meetings every Saturday for 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So we talked a lot about stuff, and our meetings have always been open to the public, so we could have anybody come in and share their story. And yeah, it's just been, so we have like 30 people would pack into this room on Saturday, and we just kind of popcorn around the room. Somebody shares an experience. Somebody else has a similar experience. Somebody's been abducted, and you just get to hear everything. It's a whole gambit of different stories and stuff. And that's it totally intrigued me. And, I haven't had a personal experience, like UFO experience. I mean, recently I saw something in the sky that I guess you could consider as a UFO, but back then I had no experience whatsoever. So it's just the stories were so interesting back then, and everybody's having them just to sit there and listen to them, every week. 2 hours every Saturday for years is what we've done that. And you never run out of things to talk about. So
That is the truth. Now, do you still hold meetings like that once a month, or?
Yeah, we do once a month, every third Saturday. We do a hybrid in-person and Zoom call, and we're still working out the details on how to get everything to work, efficiently. But yeah, once COVID hit, we did Zoom calls, so it's the third Saturday of every month. If you just, go online, you can find us there. It'll be our main group right now is the Omaha UFO Study Group. That's on Facebook, and that's where they're posted, or on my Facebook channel at Spooky Action at a Distance. So.
Oh, awesome. So you're on Facebook, and that's where you do your live, or is there a website that you go to? I wasn't sure what you said there.
Yeah, we do live on Facebook, and then it records it so then anybody else can view it afterwards.
And is this known as Nebraska MUFON?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, so, well, you heard it here first. Get on there. If you're in Nebraska and you're watching and you're interested, Kyle's your guy. He's got something going on. to help educate you. And although you guys can't share the popcorn, you can certainly pop a bag and sit there all together and enjoy it. You know, that was so much fun for me when I first started, like you said. You know, it just gets you into the mood, and the education starts coming on, you absorb it, and now you've got some knowledge about what's happening. I am so glad to see so many people. And you know, COVID turned all of this around for us. None of us met online before COVID. We were all just meeting in restaurants or libraries or something like that, you know. And some of them were meeting in houses. You know, I remember I had a few right in my own living room. But COVID really taught us how to accurately use our computers to hold these meetings, and I love that because that also works very well. And you can keep going back then. You archive all your stuff, right? So people can go back and see who was speaking. And do you have speakers that you interview at your meetings?
No, mainly we have a presentation that we go through. We go through, you know, some of the most recent cases that, you know, were completed and what, you know, details about them. And then if people have experiences, they can speak up. It's kind of an open forum meeting. Yeah.
Good.
So it's a little bit different than, I guess, like a presentation meeting or something like that. But yeah, I definitely agree with you, you know, talking about, you know, when COVID hit and the Zoom started to happen.
Yeah.
You know, that's when we actually started recording all of our meetings, because before that, you know, they're just in person, you lose a lot of that information.
You almost lose it all, yeah. If you weren't there, you didn't know. And what used to, as a state director, what used to really frustrate me was I knew so many people that needed this information, but they couldn't make that Saturday. So it ended up that they didn't come, they didn't hear, and then I had to re-present it, you know, one-on-one, which that can be overwhelming, you know, when you're one person with, at one point I had 70 people in the meeting, you know, and then 24 or 36 or even 12, you know, depending on the size of your meeting and how many people get out and hear about it. What are some of the ways that you advertise for your meetings? I know other state directors would be interested in hearing that. I hear that a lot. How do you do it, you know?
Boy, I don't think we really advertise all that much other than word of mouth, you know. Yeah, I mean, in the past, you know, it used to just be a meeting at, like you said, like a Burger King, and there'd be, you know, it got to the point where too many people were coming. You had like the good table, and it had all the, you know, main people there, and then you'd have a side table, you know, and then I guess it grew from there, and they ended up going to the public library where they would, you know, they could pay for like a TV and everything, but eventually we moved to the university, you know, right as I got there in 2009. So
that's
I got there
perfect.
during the premium years. You get a room, you know, you have access to the room, people can pull up, and there's a projector and computer and everything's hooked up, so people just, you know, roll in, and we put some coffee on, some snacks and stuff, and yeah, it's always a great time there. And to have it all set up at the university, I feel like is really nice, you know, even though I didn't experience the other days. I could, you know, without a projector, it's hard to show, you know, UFOs and videos and stuff like that and analyze things.
Yes.
So yeah, it worked out real great for us.
Yeah, I had a girl that was a part of our group who would come in through Zoom, and she bought a brand new projector for us, because without that projector, you're like a one-armed paper hanger. You're trying to do everything yourself, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, that's a great news for new state directors to hear, and I know we've got a couple watching today. So also,
on that subject, I would just, if I was to push, you know, for new state directors to look for a meeting place, I would say university would be a great place. Usually there's people interested on the university. They have, you know, a lot of accreditation and stuff like that. They have these rooms set up, and they're not using them on the weekend. There's no classes there, so you can go in and just hold a meeting there, and they usually don't mind. You know, you just have to have a connection there, and then the second benefit of that is that you get students that will come into the meetings, and, you know, they may join the group right there. So way to get new membership. And I mean, we haven't, you know, advertised on the campus. We put up flyers, I guess, you know, but other than that, we haven't advertised too much.
Well, that's huge advertisement, passing out anything at a campus, because that'll go around like hotcakes. And
Yeah.
so are you basically seeing a lot of young people coming in because it's in the area there with the university? I'm sorry, don't get old.
Yeah, no, not really. We get most of our members are from the community, I would say. So there's not a lot of student interest in the thing, but we would get a couple students every year for at least for the UFO group.
Yeah.
The one thing I did want to talk about, I know
Sure.
MUFON doesn't do paranormal investigations, but
No.
as a UFO investigator, we had a team of people, and we heard there was, paranormal people coming to campus, and we're like, oh, we better check this out because we cover, we do anything mysterious or whatever, and it was full of, we go to this one meeting that was barely advertised, and they had like 30 students there, and so we're like, well, we want students to come to our meeting. Why are they all going to this paranormal, whatever thing? It was around Halloween, so you get all the hype.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So anyways, we saw all that stuff. So we're like, well, MUFON doesn't investigate ghost story or anything like that. So we're going to set up a separate group called UNO Paranormal.
Yeah.
And then we're going to invite, ghost members and whatever people. We don't do any ghost investigations as UFO guys. But
Good for you.
We invited paranormal people. There's different teams in the area. We're like, you just come in and share your stuff. And we can go through it with our MUFON, investigation, photo analysis, video analysis, critical thinking, physics. We have all the tools to also do that stuff. So we had them come in, and they seem to get more students as well, into that group. So you get like a group of 4 students, usually come in like groups, 4 students here, 4 students there. And so that seemed to be beneficial for us because there's also crossover. Like we did our meetings back to back. So we did 2 hours UFO, then 2 hours paranormal. So it's 4 hours of meetings all together. We were very tired after doing that.
You're out of gas for sure.
But they're definitely 2 different groups. I'll point that out. You have the UFO people come in for 2 hours, then noon hits, they get up, they walk out, and then us as facilitators, we would stay there, and then paranormal people come in, and then they start looking at ghost images and stuff. But some people would come a little bit early, and they would start to look at UFO stuff, and some people would stay later and look at the ghost stuff. So there's crossover, and people started to notice that. So we got people kind of migrating between both the groups. So that's been very beneficial throughout the years.
Yes. And a lot of people, I'm glad you brought that up, a lot of people in MUFON do have a paranormal group as well, but it's very separate. It has a different name. They never use the MUFON title. And they've got, like, you've got UNO, and I have enigmatic anomalies and that kind of thing. So thanks for bringing that up, that we don't do that at our MUFON meetings. It's very disrespectful to the people who are coming, who are interested in ufology. And I've actually had people call me and say, I went to a MUFON meeting and they were talking about ghosts. I got up and left. That's not what I came for. I came to find out what was happening in my state with UFOs. So it's important to remember that. Yeah.
I'd say, like, if the UFO group went over, like 30 minutes, paranormal people would be upset, or if the paranormal people were coming in, they're like, we don't want to do UFO stuff,
Yes, but, that's right.
They're very different fields of investigation, like UFO, you're looking at a single event that happened, in the sky or something. For paranormal, it's more looking at, there's like a haunted location or something. So you can't even really do the same kind of investigation.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. So one other question I had was, tell me about your team. So you've got a full working team. Other state directors don't. So I wanted you to talk about some of your benefits with the team that you have. You've got a SSD, an ASD, and a CI, as well as an SD. Is that correct?
We have I think there's 3 positions: a state director, assistant state director, and then we have a chief officer, I think.
Okay, no ASD, no assistant state director. Okay.
We have an assistant state director. Which one did I skip on?
The assistant.
Director,
the assistant. Oh, you do have an assistant. Okay.
Yeah, and then the chief investigator.
Okay. And how does that all work out for you there in Nebraska? Because other people who are new or, don't have as strong of a connection, with other groups, which I try to encourage. If you're a state director out there and you're watching, the best thing you can do is go to the state directors' meetings that we hold within MUFON and learn from your other state directors. So how does it go with you?
So yeah, for us, I mean, we were kind of I don't know, we don't get a lot of UFO cases here in Nebraska, and we don't have a ton of interest, in ufology. But I mean, at some points we were down to, I think it was just myself and Fred for like a couple of years, just the state director and assistant state director. And then we got Tamara to be our chief investigator, and I'm not sure if she came from our paranormal group or not, but we kind of have like a pool of community members, and they come in like 30 different people. They're not all MUFON members. A lot of them are, and then to get to the investigator status, you have to kind of push people. So, if somebody seems interested, if they seem knowledgeable, sometimes you just have to give them a little push and be like, hey, I'll help you study for the test, or I'll, try to get you in. So, but for us, it works out fine since we don't have that many cases. We have 3 main people. We also have John Barta, who's our new. I think he just got past the training, so he's our new field investigator. So yeah, we're up to about 4 people. We have a few other people who are interested. They send me emails, and I just tell them, hey, if you're interested, come to the meeting. Love to meet you, or we can go out and meet at, a restaurant or something. Get you introduced to the team.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, we get most of them, just from word of mouth. Again, it's how it goes. Once people hear about UFOs, they have a story, they'll talk about it, and they might get interested and come join your group. So
that's awesome. Well, you're a very good state director. I mean, what I'm hearing, I'm liking so much, and you're active, you're encouraging, you're bringing people in, you're doing everything pretty much by the book there, and I'm very proud to hear that. This is what it takes to bring people in. I know everybody has some type of questions about, are we alone in the universe? And that's one of the biggest questions I think we can ask as humans. What's going on? What is all this that's happening, that's being denied, and all of that? So it's great that you are, with your personality, I think that has a lot to do with it. You're a great state director. Thank you.
I think just keeping an open mind is kind of the big key, at least for our groups, because we keep it open to anything. So Fred, he's on the ERT team, so he does abductions. I think he used to be in an abduction group where people would come and share stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, is that Fred Kohler?
Fred Ziwi.
Oh, Ziwi. Okay, I wasn't sure which Fred. Okay. Oh, he's wonderful.
You get him on, he's got some good stories to tell.
Oh yeah, yeah, he does.
And he's also very active, with the CE5 group. So that's where people go out and try to have an actual interaction with a UFO. So that there's a lot of people that go to that one too that are also separate from our group. So collaboration is kind of so an open mind, I guess, would be number 1, and then number 2 would be collaboration with other groups, because we collaborate with so many different groups, and you get people from everything, and you kind of use the same scientific method and all the processes, but you get new people coming in, and they want to hear about different things. So
right. So that's really amazing. And let me ask you this. So how long have you been a state director? We know you've been since 2009 as a certified field investigator. How long have you had this position?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it was about 5 years ago is when I had it. When I first got on, we had Dr. Jack Kasher, who's well known. He's in a whole bunch of different things. PhD physicist. He did a special analysis of an object in space. Let's see if I have it here. It's like STS-48 shuttle mission video, and that showed anomalous objects moving in space, controlled in a manner within the view's shuttle camera. So there was something that came from Earth and kind of shot out, and there was an object that was coming in, and it kind of like swooped out of the way. So he's very well known for that, and he's been in a lot of different UFO videos and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then David Paris took over, and he did that for about 5 years, and then I took over after him, basically. So
great. Well, you're doing a good job and keeping it going and keeping it strong, really. So that's awesome.
I learned from the best.
So let's talk a little bit about these CE5 situations. I've always been very interested in that. I've held several. I've had communication, really wonderful, powerful communication. How have yours gone?
So I've only been to two of the most recent ones,
Okay.
but we kind of, again, with our collaborations, promoted in our group, if, hey, you want to go see a UFO? We had Randy Bronk was the guy who started it here in Omaha. It was like C5 Omaha or something like that. And now we have a new group with a new guy, and he's just starting it up. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go out. I've gone out twice. First time we didn't really see much, and you got to make sure you're bundled up because it gets really cold out.
Yes.
Especially in the winter months around here. So the first time I didn't see anything. Second time we did see some weird objects, kind of way in the back when we were just sitting out there. Can't really say what it was. Didn't look like a meteor. Didn't look like obviously not a plane, satellite, or any of that stuff. You can identify that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Not a star or something. So it was weird. But yeah, so you do get to see, just going out there with the intention of trying to see something weird. Once you start looking up, that used to be our saying, is just keep looking up because you'll see stuff, when you're out there.
Yes, absolutely. I usually get a group of about 12. We go out at night, and when I was in Florida, we would have to bring fans out so that we could put the fans on us to keep the mosquitoes from eating us alive. It was always so hot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but we definitely saw something really powerful, and we were all looking to the south, and all of a sudden I heard, "Turn around." And when I did, I saw something come in and go so fast and come to a dead stop. And then it went down and almost made an N in the sky and then shot off at an angle and went right into the Orion's belt. And this is an interesting concept. There were 12 of us. 4 of us saw it and the rest of them didn't. And I still to this day don't understand how that can happen, where you can have a group of field investigators together, and they were all part of my, MUFON in Lakeland, Florida group. And these extraterrestrial crafts will seem to not appear to some people, but then they'll appear to others. And that is a conundrum for me because how does that happen?
Well, they were looking in the direction of the UFO.
I was pointing right directly at it, and it made an N. How can you miss that in the sky when it's a bright light and it shot over and then made that N and then made almost like a V from the end of the N out to the Orion's belt, and then it disappeared. There was no way you couldn't see that, but they didn't. Yeah. And I have heard that.
Again, I don't venture in the paranormal too much, but one of the ideas is that some people can see things that other people can't. So when you look at the electromagnetic spectrum and visible light, there's some things that people, some people might have an extended visual range or a diminished visual range, so that maybe somebody can see something that other people in the same area can't. That might be one of the things. It might be a million other things, there's so many possibilities.
There really are, and we don't really know. Some people just have to, like you said earlier, have an open mind. And if your mind isn't open, I do think that does limit you on your experiences and what you're going to see and how you're going to interact with all these things. For me, it's been a life experience, so, some people are just more prone to it, than others. But
it's really hard to catch UFOs too. So I remember, I think we got enough time to go for the Jefferson County case with the chupacabra. That's obviously what people want to hear about, I think. But we had 3 investigators go down there. This was before I was there, I think 2008 or so. 3 investigators, our top, I think maybe 2 of them were STAR team members, eventually became STAR team members. They all going down into a UFO hot zone, basically. And they were at a truck, and they all looked up, and there was a UFO up there. And
Oh.
one guy just, Dave, he just kept his eye on the UFO while the other guys were looking for the camera gear, but it's gone before they could even get the camera gear out there, So you have one
Yeah.
guy who has kind of a description of what happened, and then you have the other guys who are trying to get objective evidence, which, I think that's the main goal, of MUFON, right? Try to get objective. If the camera sees it, well, then there's something there for sure. But, people, we never know.
Well, true. That doesn't mean that they didn't see it. It just means that it was not easy for them to get the camera out, focus, get the shot, get all the data. So many people still to this day don't hold their cameras either on their head or on something to make it not shake crazy.
That's why we got to get the millennial guys in there, the young kids with their phones, and they're just
Yeah.
looking like this everywhere. Oh, there you go. There's a UFO.
Oh, they're so good at it, the younger people. It's crazy. It's like me playing Pac-Man back in the day, I'm trying to stay with something, but yeah. So also I was interested in your presentation on Mysteries Decoded. So you want to share with our listeners what that was all about? Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. That one there will go right into our Space Warp project, which isn't necessarily affiliated with MUFON, but it really kind of branched out of it and has a lot of UFO stuff intertwined into it. So basically, the previous state director, David Paris, he's been working, when he was young, he had a UFO encounter, that changed his life, basically. And it was just an object in the air. He saw it move in a way that a plane could not move in. And then he changed his life, from being like a jock, being like a, physical guy. He went straight into engineering. He went into technical, computer stuff, completely changed his life for, 40 plus years, basically.
Wow.
And throughout the years, he's always wondered, how could an object do, he saw it, it did that, and he knows that for sure. So then he's been dedicating his life to figure out how could it do that? So throughout the years, he's done a lot of Bermuda Triangle research, and he studied, I think, 32 cases in the Bermuda Triangle. He found a really good one, and then he's like looking at, what created this in the Bermuda Triangle? I guess, I don't know if I have to go into the history. I don't know.
No, well, not for me.
Triangle, you have missing planes, missing ships, and all kinds of weird stuff that happened down there.
Yeah.
And so in this one case, Bruce Gernon, he went through a thunderstorm and he was displaced like 100 miles or something like that, a very far distance, and it was picked up on radar, and the guy, recorded his gas levels and all this kind of stuff, and everything pointed to him being moved very quickly without,
100 miles, that's impressive.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't know all the details exactly.
Well, yeah.
But it's a long distance, and his gas wasn't used, and the radar picked him up at a different location, and it was all recorded. So this is a very recorded case of something weird happening. And so basically Dave thought, well, if it had something to do with the thunderstorms, he also does meteorology and stuff like that. So he thought he would replicate it in a lab setting, basically, build a thunderstorm, point a laser through it, see if there's some kind of weird anomaly that happened in between there. And what he got after doing it like thousands of times was that there was something weird happening at this one kind of central point between the thunderstorm fields.
Uh-huh.
And so that's kind of like how our whole Space Warp program got started, which all ties back to like a UFO, thing. So to me, it's like you have all these cases, these UFO cases, and if you study them enough, you should be able to figure out how this technology is working.
Right, just follow the science and that'll bring you to it. So how did you get involved with the Mysteries Decoded? Excuse me, I have to cough.
Yeah, there's no problem. So Dave basically, he's pretty well known for the Space Warp stuff that he's been working on. And they were doing Bermuda Triangle stuff, and that since that's tied in with the Space Warp, they asked him to, be on there. And since I was part of the project, I was also thrown on there. So that's basically how that one worked out.
Okay.
So it all goes back to the university group and just knowing a lot of people who are all interested in the same stuff,
Oh, okay. Very good. Okay, well, keep on with what you were sharing.
Okay, so we did the first experiment. I think that was before I got on there. Was the interferometer experiment that basically proved that experiment alone proves that there's something weird going on with those kind of fields.
Yes.
And so then it was replicated with a Cavendish experiment that was modified. So Cavendish, he was calculating the force of gravity basically, and had an enclosed room, and he had like two masses in there, and he would measure how fast they would come together. So in our experiment, we have an enclosed box, so you can't have air pressure or something messing with these weights, and we moved it using the electromagnetic waves that we had from the thunderstorm configuration. So we basically moved an object inside of an enclosed case. So again, this is another experiment that seems impossible with modern day physics.
Right, okay.
But we were able to do it repeatedly with this setup. So again, that's like, said too that this looks like space warp.
Yeah.
And then on our third test, we're doing how much power does it take and how much force are we getting out of this thing? So in those tests, we would look at, 200, 400, 800 watts of power, and how much does it move an object? And we basically got an exponential curve. So it seems like everything's pointing to this is looking like space warp is happening here. There's no other way to explain this stuff. So this is really hot stuff, basically, in the physics realm.
Yes, it sure is.
Yeah.
And interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, and especially for UFO stuff, because this is probably how UFOs are traveling so fast. It's not a chemical engine like a rocket. This is basically warping space-time to move very quickly.
Yes.
And yeah, right now we're just using low amounts of wattage, so we get little, very tiny amounts of movement, but it's basically impossible movement from any other standards.
Yes. I know, that is so interesting to me, and I agree with you, because these things move in such unconventional ways that there would be no possible way it could have anything to do with how we travel, simply because it would either implode or it would kill the, anybody in the craft. So even our MiGs and things like that do go so fast, they can't hold a candle to what a craft can do. And the crafts usually are circling around the MiGs. That's got to be mind-blowing for the people in the MiGs, to see something like that. So yes, I believe you're onto something there with that technology, and it's definitely not of this world. And it's just amazing to think they've been here for eons, all these generations, and they outrun us, everything us, So interesting.
Yes, just to go on with that a little bit more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you watched our latest video for the QED. I saw you liked it on there, but we have got actual, large amounts of movement just recently. So this is getting real exciting. We never had a scale move, 400 grams, I believe it was. So that just blows us out of the water.
Yes.
So this is definitely going to go somewhere. But when you look at aliens coming to Earth, there's no possible way they use a chemical rocket. There's no possible way they use any kind of traditional means of movement. Because, like the nearest star system is what, like 9 years, light years away or something like that? That's years going at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And chemical rocket won't get anywhere near the speed of light. So you're looking at thousands of years by a traditional means.
Yes.
So they obviously have something where you can go light years in a matter of days or hours or something like that.
That's right. I think it was in the book Eyes Only by Clifford Stone, where he said that he believed that they did warp, time warp, fold time, and just so you have all this time, and then it's just this, and they just shoot right through it. So amazing. Yeah. So amazing.
A lot of people, it's in the UFO realm, we have a lot of different kind of fringe sciencey topics, 0-point energy and, time travel and all that kind of stuff. We kind of dismiss all that stuff because that doesn't really seem scientific, at least to what we believe in.
Plausible, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem plausible. Wormholes, that kind of stuff too. But the space warp possibility does seem plausible. So we do want to distinguish that there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't give credit to, but the stuff that we're looking at, we can replicate it in a lab multiple times with low amounts of power. So it seems like, the science is moving in this direction, basically.
You're right. This is great information, and thank you for sharing that, because I totally believe that. we just can't fathom what really is happening. We don't, all of us collectively, have the understanding to receive it. So we need proof so that we can move forward. And it's really great that we're getting some of that, you know. But we're coming up at the top of the hour here, and I did want to say to you, what do you think about the title of our MUFON Symposium, which this year is Friend or Foe? What are your thoughts? Loaded question.
That question ahead of time. Yeah, I don't know exactly for sure what to think about that. I listened to a recent podcast that was more, one of my religious friends was kind of talking about that because they mentioned MUFON in this podcast. And so he's like, oh, I'm going to send it to you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm the state director. Of course, I'm going to listen to something that has MUFON in it. And they were talking about, you know, like angels and demons and stuff like that, right, and tying that to UFOs, where, you know, the church would be very anti. They're saying that these are demons, along with all the paranormal, you know, ghosts or what. This is all trying to trick you and trying to mess with you, saying that they're bad. So that's one take on it. Another take is a lot of these abduction scenarios. People are like, well, you're not getting consent to be abducted, right? A lot of people have these experiences and they get traumatized from them. Right. And then they come to our groups and then they realize, oh, well, this has happened to more than just me. So that kind of, you know, helps. It's not just me. I'm not just the one being, you know, targeted by these people. Right. So, yeah, friend or foe, I don't know. You know, a lot of people say they're foes, but at the other, you know, side of it, if they were enemies and they didn't want humans to be here or whatever, you know, they could wipe us out instantly. That's right. And I don't think they're coming here for minerals and gold, because you can get that stuff in space very easily. You know, you go to the asteroid belt, you got all the minerals you need in 0G. You just scoop that stuff up. So they're not coming here for anything, you know, like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess you can't really say if they're friend or foe, but maybe they're neutral. Maybe they're just observing us to observe us, you know. I'll take that stance. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate hearing that, especially as a state director, because a lot of people are torn. They're not sure. And there's so much proof that they're actually friendly versus not being friendly. Like our friend Travis Walton came out and said very openly that he believed they were very friendly. Because he was showing off with all his guys and he ran towards it, got into this flame that they had shot out, and that is what killed him. And he thinks he was actually dead, and they picked him up and revived him, and it took 5 days for them to do this. And they brought him back, and he was alive when they got him on the ship, because they brought him back. And he was very... in his story, he shares that he was very aggressive towards them, picked up all these tools that he saw that they had there and threw them at them. And he said they only disciplined him a bit, or whatever you want to call that, because he was acting out. Today, when I talk to Travis, he tells me, I was the bad guy there. They were helping me, but I was so scared. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my mind around what was happening. It was all just a new experience that scared me, you know. And so he was really, really freaked out by it. But he says today they were definitely friendly. And so I have looked at that. All my experiences have been very friendly. So I'm interested to see what comes up on that other end of the spectrum, why people think they're evil. And next time, tell them to pocket one of those tools so we can analyze it. yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I know people. They say there's a lot of different types of aliens too, right? So like the reptilians are like the bad ones, and then we have some that are good ones, and then maybe the greys are like robots or something like that, you know. But yeah, you know. So I guess when you said proof, what would you say is the exact proof that they're good? Or do you think all of them are good, or do you think there's good and bad at the same time? I do think that some people do have bad experiences. That is not I've been having experiences since I was 5 years old, and I'm now in my 70s. So I've never had a bad experience, and 2 of those experiences were with
reptilians. One a reptilian hybrid and a very powerful, large reptilian in the catacombs. And neither one were the least bit negative. It was all very positive. And so I think it's who you are and what you bring to the table. Like if you're out there and you're going to shoot them, well, of course they're going to defend themselves. Like Carla Turner talked about that, and so did Philip Schneider, about how, you know, some of the Green Berets were literally shooting them, so they chopped off his fingers, they opened people up, you know, with just moving of their hands. And I'm like, well, you know, just knowing that about them would make me stand still and be a little more humble than raising a gun to them. But it's what we understand, which is why I think MUFON is so important, that we get together, we talk about these experiences, and we compare the A, B, and C, you know, to the X, Y, and Z, and take a look at why did they do what they did at that time? What were you doing? Or how did you treat them? You know, the probes and all this kind of thing, you know, it's just very interesting. One thing I will say, I 100% do believe that they're here and always have been. I personally have never thought they were demons, because demons are in that other realm, and they're fallen angels, basically. You know, that's what the demonics are. And extraterrestrials aren't angels. Angels can pop in and pop out. They don't need crafts. Extraterrestrials can't do anything without their crafts. So, you know, there's a very clear difference right there that's kind of obvious just sitting out there for us to look at. But I can't wait for the symposium to find out about it. I'm looking for the X, Y, and Z, and to see who has actual proof, you know.
I guess, if I can do like 5 minutes real quick. We used to do these presentations at different locations here in Omaha. You know, different people would ask. They just contacted us to do a UFO presentation or whatever. And so I teamed up with a few other people in our community, and we went out and did these little presentations. But the main idea was to identify, well, what exactly are UFOs? You know, what can we tell for certain? But we know for certain there are like 3 categories, right? The first category would be a physical craft coming here, UFO, with, you know, maybe something on it, maybe not,
right,
in the physical realm. But that there's a hard conclusion to draw, because we don't have the physical evidence. We don't have the craft. We don't have an alien. We don't have anything 100% objective that we can just show everybody. This is alien. It's got alien DNA. Case closed. You know.
Well,
that's
maybe
what we're
we
looking
do.
for.
Maybe we do. It's just not being shared with
Well,
us.
I would say we'll say MUFON, right?
Yeah.
MUFON wants
Yeah.
this. MUFON does not have it.
Yeah.
Maybe the government does.
Maybe.
The second category would be where all the skeptics would be in. They're saying that all of these things are just hallucinations.
Right.
You know, there's people are seeing different things. It's all in our head. You know, we're all crazy. So welcome to our group. We actively say we're crazy, and everybody welcomes it. So, so that's the second group. But, you know, in that category, you would think that people wouldn't be seeing the same kind of things. You would see, you know, that if you have one person who's seeing things and somebody else is seeing things, they wouldn't see the same thing, you know. And we have a lot of cases of mass amounts of people seeing the same object in the sky.
Yes.
That kind of discounts, you know, the mass hallucination. You know, I don't buy that.
Sure
so
does.
that kind of discounts the second category. And then the third category would be non-physical intelligent beings, right? That can be a lot of different things, but I think a lot of people are kind of going towards that category. Because they seem to be intelligent. There seems to be people getting abducted, receiving information that they didn't have before, and then coming back to Earth and being able to share that, you know. Some people who are abducted, they see other abductees, you know, in their abduction. They see other people in the crash.
Yes.
It's like, how can you explain that?
Yes.
You know, so that seems to be the area. And how do we investigate that? That's very difficult. You know, MUFON, I'm pretty sure, wants to be, we want the objective craft in the sky, you know,
scientific,
bolts held together, and we're going to find it, you know. But a lot of the things kind of go into that third category. So
yes.
But yeah, people have been seeing, like you said, since the beginning of time. In the presentation, I go over, there's cave drawings
Yeah.
of people getting, poked and prodded and taken up into the sky. All the characteristics of a UFO abduction have been happening. It's depicted in cave art.
Right.
And
It's also depicted in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th century and beyond in very profound paintings by people we respect as excellent painters. Why would they throw that in there if it's not there? So it's so interesting. I don't doubt it for a minute, but then I have many. I come from a family actually who has had green eyes, no less. Everybody green eyes. We've all had experiences, and even one I had with my son, who was an unbeliever who became an instantaneous believer because the craft was 3 huge lights and it morphed into a triangle and went down without even stirring one leaf on a tree. That is not possible. So back to your, theories, what they can do and how they can do it is truly unknown to us, in the public eye anyway. Possibly our government is well aware.
unknown to you guys, but QED's got it.
Yeah. I mean, Bob Lazar has been telling us for eons, well, not eons, but for ages here, since he first saw his way back. And so many other great books. And look at, amazing Kathy Marden with her aunt and uncle. They never got hurt, but they were freaked out because these were people coming out of the working sector, and professional area, and all of a sudden this, And it's so hard to wrap your mind around a first exciting. A first sighting. And I think that we have so much to learn from that. And there was DNA. I'm so grateful I had DNA to send to the lab to be looked at. Otherwise, I think, I'd just be another person they'd be saying this didn't happen. I know it did happen. It changed me profoundly because I was such a strong Christian and still am, I was like, how could...
What did the DNA say?
The DNA, well, that's what I'm presenting at the MUFON Symposium. So, yeah, the MUFON lab...
Give us a little snippet of... was it alien DNA or what?
Well, we have proof. We need now more information from others to come forth and bring their swabs or whatever they have gathered from their experiences. If you have an experience with a alien, any type, any form, get a swab of anywhere they were, they stood, they touched you, this is very important. This is what we need. We are the scientific study, and we do the scientific background and work. So this is very important, and our lab is calling for that type of thing, a true swab DNA, And I'm just sad that I only took one. But I was so traumatized, I could not wrap my mind around anything. I laid in bed for almost 3 hours because I was like, I feel I was in shock. I couldn't understand how this could happen to me, but I was healed. And I thought only God healed us. How's that possible for something else to? But when you look at it though, Kyle, doctors heal us all the time, and we accept that. We accept that they gave us a pill or an injection or a surgery, and we're healed. Why is it so hard then to believe that we could be healed by the instrument that this extraterrestrial held in his hand, which healed me? It's a part of looking at it with, using your head and having an open mind and having some information. These are all really important things. So yeah, I will share that in August. So hopefully you'll be there. Huh?
Did you get the tool that healed you? That's what we need.
No. How I would have loved to. No. They do have power over us. They can put us in a freeze frame kind of situation where we actually can't move. And they can speak to us through mental telepathy. And they're in charge usually of that moment, unless, like Travis, we start fighting. Then that's a different scenario. Then they just shut us down. But Kathy Martin.
I guess what
Yeah.
I was going to say, what we're looking at is we always want to try to get that objective evidence. Like
Yes.
when you brought up DNA, I mean, we didn't talk too much about it, but we have a case where we had like a chupacabra, and it cut itself on like a piece of wood or something,
Yes.
and so of course we got that piece of wood because it's going to have some kind of DNA on it, or.
What came
But
back?
I guess we don't even know that, because if it is an alien, if it's truly alien, they might not even have DNA. They might have some kind of completely
Something else.
different structure. Yeah.
Well, our
Why
lab.
would they use the same DNA as us? It doesn't.
Our
make that
lab
much-
was able to separate it and see, and she was able to connect it with something here. So it's very interesting. It's an amazing situation. But I will say, when we're going through these things, it's so mind altering because it's so unnatural to the normal life we live. I don't know what normal means. I think it's a cycle on my dryer, but other than that, I have no idea what normal means. But you can't just be in charge all the time. Some people can. I was not able to. I was being restricted by what was happening. And I was told to be still. And I wasn't about to rock any boat there, and I wasn't about to grab that thing because I was frozen in fear, basically. I was basically frozen at just what I was seeing.
Not able to just do whatever you want. In those cases is what
it's
it
easy to
seems
say
like.
that.
I just joke about taking things because we always want that one.
Proof.
All it takes is one piece of something weird, and then we're like, well, explain that, and you can't.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on, Kyle. This has been wonderful information. I have really enjoyed this in-depth conversation with you, and thank you for sharing about your state and what's going on and how you do things. I think that's very helpful for others. And I do hope to see you in Cincinnati on the 24th through the 27th for that historical and amazing MUFON symposium.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, and I would like to say next month we'll have Sherry, and I hope I can say this right, Ramanathan, or Ramanathan, I should have clarified that, from Tennessee. The Tennessee State Director will be on, and we'll be interviewing her and talking to her about what's happening right here in Tennessee where I am. Paris is in Tennessee. So I hope y'all can join us for that. She's a new state director and an absolutely wonderful CFI. So we hope to see everybody then, and thank you for joining me here today on United MUFON. Thanks again, Kyle. Bye-bye.